All right, guys, Automated Garage back today with one of my favorite customers, Mike, and his 2003 Excursion here with the 6.0 in it. And what we're doing today is we're replacing the rear AC lines, both high and low side. And I stumbled upon the best part for doing this when I had another Excursion here not too long ago, and I was doing an oil cooler on it, and I was underneath it doing, I guess, fuel filters and dropping the oil on it, whatever. But I noticed he had these lines that looked like they were custom made for the rear AC on this, because if you've ever had to replace one of these rear AC lines, you know they're really expensive. I'm talking about $600-700 a piece, and they're a pain in the butt to replace and route and make sure there's no place for them to rub or anything like that. So let me turn you around here. Let me show you what we're dealing with, and I'll show you the company and how you can get these lines for your Excursion, because this is a real go-to part now for doing this on the Excursions here. So this is your low pressure and high pressure rear AC lines here. And you can see they are very quality crimped with the ends made on them here for your system. So there's no dealing with the hard pipe, because the originals are one piece, front to rear on these, which makes them a lot of fun to get off. You have to cut them to get them off. And then when you replace them, if you replace them with the Motorcraft or some other brand of the hard line, if you can find them, they're going to be two pieces, so you're going to have another joint in it. And it's not a lot of fun dealing with it, replacing them. Done it a couple times, and it's a labor-intensive job. So the only way to replace the one-piece line with another one-piece line would be to raise the cab on these, which most people don't want to do that for an AC problem. But these are your two hoses. Here's the company right here. Sales at Street Rod. I think it's Street Rod, guys, is the name of the company. I'll put it in the link in the description to go to their website. And they do Excursions and a bunch of other kind of rare vehicles that have specialty AC lines. And I think they can even custom make AC lines if you're needing some custom lines made also. So we're going to go through today getting these off and replacing these. I know this is a common thing with the Excursions to have an issue with down the road. I mean, they're all 20+ years old now. Dealing with AC lines. So let me get into breaking this down and we'll get those put on. All right, so before we get into undoing any AC lines, front or rear on this, we're gonna go on and get full access to all of our lines. So we're gonna remove our ender fender well here at the front, and then we're gonna raise it up and we'll start dealing with the brackets that hold the lines front to back. Technically, you could probably put these new lines on without removing all of the hard lines, but I like to do a nice, neat install. We don't want a bunch of extra crap hanging up underneath this truck. So I'm gonna get this ender fender well pulled out, which is just 8mm and 7/32 right here. We'll get that out. So let me get to that point and we'll catch up there. You also have these three 11mm for your vacuum canister that's inside the fender well here. So you can see the problem right here where the AC line has come in contact with the valve cover there and it's rubbed a hole in it. So that's why that line's bad, and it's going to be so much easier to route these newer style hoses that are rubber instead of fighting with these hard lines. So I'm going to raise this up now. We're going to start getting all these brackets undone here that hold the lines so that we can route the new line in a nice and neat manner. All right, we have all of our AC and heater line brackets, hose holders, whatever you want to call it, removed. It's just an 11mm nut on all of them. And starting at the back here, you've got one right there where you see that stud, which is removed. The next one is right here. And then here, and then I have this air tank system for his airbags. And I'm gonna see, I can't get this one off the stud. I'm hopefully gonna try to not have to remove this tank. We'll see if I can route them or not, but anyways, that one's loose. And the final one is right here, which I gotta pop that one off still. And then we can start disconnecting the lines from everywhere. All right, so if your low pressure line or either one of these had ever been replaced, at some point you're gonna have a joint right here. We're about midway back between the front and the back of the truck here. So I've broken this joint now. So I'm gonna go on and get this back half loose. We are gonna go on and do the high and low side both, even though the low side is the only one that's busted because he bought the kit. And might as well go on and do both while we're here doing it. So let me get back here and I'm gonna get this disconnected from the accumulator. Not accumulator, but the evaporator that's in the back here. All right, so you have these retaining clips on both your high and low side line back here at your rear evaporator. And you just pull these back and you can slide it off. And all it is kind of a safety for that. It's almost like a fuel line disconnect on an AC line here. So now I'm gonna get my disconnect tool and we're gonna get both of these right here undone. All right, so you gotta have some kind of AC fuel line disconnect tool for this. Otherwise, you're just gonna booger everything up. And there's no way for me to show me actually doing it. But if you look right there, you can see the spring on the inside that you have to release to get this lower portion of the line off right here. You just slide that tool, you push the line up, compress it against the upper fitting as hard as you can, slide this up. That's gonna spread the spring out, and then you can kind of yank, pull down, and it will disconnect that line just like that. Now I'm gonna do the same thing on the high side. So the low side, I used a 3/4, and I think that's gonna be, high side is a 1/2 inch to get it off. So now we got both these lines loose. I'm gonna start working it down towards the front, and then we're gonna get up and disconnect them under the engine bay up there. All right, so we have the rear portion of the low pressure line out. And like I said, the only reason that's possible is because that line had been replaced and it has the joint in it. The factory one does not have a joint in it, and you would have to cut it to get it out. So now we're gonna lower the truck down. We're gonna disconnect up there by our accumulator under the hood and start fishing the other portion of the low pressure side out. And we're gonna see if we can get the high pressure line out just in one piece. It would be nice for me to just have it on the shelf as a spare if I wanted to, but I highly doubt it's probably gonna get all bent up or cut to come out. All right, you have a 13 millimeter on both your low and high side lines right here. So undo both of those. If your Excursion is a 6.0 or a 7.3, it's gonna make your life a little bit easier to take this map sensor out of the way right here. And just tuck it over here out of the way. You don't even necessarily have to unplug it. You can if you want to, but that's gonna give you more room to get these lines worked down and out right there. All right, somewhere in this general area, you're gonna have this plastic clamp that holds your high and low side together, and just go on and pop it off so they'll be independent of each other. Well, you can move them a little bit easier and start working this down. So I'm gonna set y'all down for a minute and work this line down. And you can see now where our valve cover rubbed right through that line and caused our problem. So that is doable. And I even fed that out without removing that air tank I was showing y'all. Just feeding it over the top from the back, went right in between the tire and the shock there, out the front, got it below the front bumper, and just kept working it out. The hardest part was just dealing with the bends right here around the top of this tank. So now we can take our new lines and we can start routing them, and I gotta make a decision on, I guess I'm gonna start at the back and feed it to the front. That seems to make the most sense to me. All right, so I was just noticing this did not have any kind of rubber cap on the front end of this hose on either hose. So I wanted to cover that up so I'm not gonna get any dirt or debris in this brand new nice hose. So I just took some of my metal tape, aluminum tape, whatever you wanna call it, and covered this up so that I can route this and not get any crap in that brand new hose. All right, I got the hoses run up here, just kind of seeing how that's gonna work out. That's not where they're gonna stay. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna try to figure out how to reuse the factory retainers for the hoses. I know those rubber hoses aren't gonna fit in it the way it is, but I may modify them so that everything's run nice and neat, held securely, no way it's gonna rub or get burned or nothing like that or anything. So, but before we get to that point, I was gonna go on and just get these held up here so that I know while I'm running that down there, it's fine. I have not put new O-rings on these yet, but you have to take this stud out of your old low pressure line and put it in here. So you can get it in here. Just like that. Like I said, I haven't put O-rings on them yet because I want to get the hoses run nice and neat down there. I'm just doing that to keep everything in place in the meantime. I modified the holder to hold the hoses and route them down here nice and neat. The only place I'm using zip ties is in between the holders to just keep everything nice and lined up. So I've done the first and the second holder, and they're just on finger tight. They're not tightened down yet in case I got to move something around. But all I did was open up these two right here. And I got another one back here that I haven't messed with yet. So there's two side by side. That's the one I modified. That's the way it originally looked. And all I did was I just went on the bench grinder right here and just opened it up the width of that. And I tried to leave, there's not a whole lot of meat in between there, but to me, this is a way neater way of putting these up there instead of using nothing but zip ties, because I like the idea of somebody getting under the truck and having to even notice that something is different with the AC lines and not having something look like it was, I don't know, redneck engineered. All right, so we put all of our new O-rings on the evaporator back here, and we've lubed up the inside of both hoses. I have one bracket left to put on. Make sure I'm putting these on facing the right direction for my order back there. So, and my light turned off, of course, but it's as simple as you just push it up and it locks. You hear it lock, and then you can't pull it off. That's how you do it. So I'm gonna finish putting these on, put my last bracket on, maybe put a couple zip ties to make this all run nice and neat, and we'll be good to pull a vacuum here after I do the O-rings on the front. All right, we got our lines run nice and neat right along where the factory lines went. Everything's in the brackets, and that's all of his air lines for his air tank, because when I installed that, we mounted the compressor in the back of the truck because we didn't want it exposed to the elements. And I've got some sound deadening stuff around it from doing that, but the lines are all run nice and neat with the factory ones. They're not all kind of zip tied and hanging down, which that truck that I saw these lines on that made me discover this company, they were just they were drooping all along here. And I think this is the best way to run it where it looks right and it's all safe. And even in a spot right here, I got to put a zip tie around that still, but I put an old piece of radiator hose around that. It was not touching the body of the truck there, but it was rather close. So I'm going to zip tie that in place so that it's got something in between it and that portion of the body where it could rub, because we don't want to rub a hole in these. All right, we did the same thing right there. It's not touching anything there, but it could possibly get close to something. So I put a piece of radiator hose around it, zip tied it there also. Just want to protect these nice lines and do this job once, not twice. Got the gauges hooked up, got the Venturi vacuum pump hooked up here. You're gonna pull a vacuum on it, and we'll let it sit for a while, make sure the vacuum holds just fine, and then we can charge the system up. While the vacuum is sitting, I can go and put the map sensor back where it goes. Probably gonna leave the inner fender well out until we have this charged up, just to double check all of that before I put it in. So anyways, let me get the air compressor hooked up, we'll get a vacuum pulled. All right, we've been holding vacuum for about 30 minutes and we're right there trying to get you a straight shot. About 16 pounds, 17. We've been holding strong there. This thing will focus. I don't know why I don't want to focus. Anyways, been holding a vacuum for about 30 minutes. We're gonna go on and charge it up now. So I'm gonna hook some cans up and we'll crank it up and see what she does. So we got our jumper wire and our low pressure harness right here that goes to the low pressure switch so that it will pull Freon in. Otherwise, you're gonna sit here and it's gonna take forever to get the compressor to kick on because it's not seeing the pressure it wants to see. Sitting here at about cruising RPM, no fan in front of the truck. I think we got our charge just right. But I'd say she's cooling pretty good. Taking into consideration going down the road and actually having some air move through that condenser and not relying on just the fan to pull it through will make a big difference. So I think we got it licked here. Been idling for a few minutes and we're right there at or just a hair above 50 degrees, which is not too bad. All right guys, so I'm super pleased with those AC lines. I think it is a superior install versus doing the hard lines. Way cheaper, $346 for both the high and low side lines that go to the rear of your Excursion. You can't beat that because I think that last hard line that we put on here was about 600 bucks. So I ate the labor on this because I installed that hard line. It went about, I don't know, 3 months, 4 months. He came back and said, hey, my air's not cooling. So I don't know what happened. Something vibrated with the way the line was run or something, but it came in contact with the valve cover. I ate that, that's fine. That's how I treat people here. But anyways, I came across this. I said, hey, I think this is the best way to do these rear AC lines. And don't worry about having a joint in it or anything else anymore. So go check out streetrodguys.com. streetrodguys.com. And they got these AC lines for your Excursion. I think they make custom AC lines also and sell pieces for you to even make your own AC lines if you wanted to, and make them for other kind of specialty vehicles that are kind of rare like the Excursion. So go check that out. Way easier to install this than it is the hard lines, and I think it's a long term. It's going to last better than doing that hard line. So anyways, just wanted to show y'all that video, share this product with you. When I find something that's a quality thing, I like to share it with y'all because sometimes stuff like this is hard to find, and that hard line is actually hard to find, but it's not with these guys. So go check that out. Go check out other content out on the channel here. A lot of Power Stroke, Cummins, and Ford content here on the channel. Occasionally we have some other stuff on here. If this channel has helped you out, helped you save some money, helped you fix your own truck, consider joining our Patreon as a member there. We have exclusive content. We do giveaways, stuff like that on there. If you just want to support the channel and support this content, we'd appreciate that. Check us out at automaticgarage.com. Got some merch on there if you're interested. We're also on Instagram and Facebook. Go follow us on there. We appreciate y'all greatly for helping this channel grow as much as it has grown in the last, 3 years now, I think we've been doing this. Just sharing what we're doing here at Automatic Garage. If you're looking for somebody to work on your truck and you're in the Mid-South area, we're in West Tennessee. Our contact info is on the website also. We'd be glad to try to hook you up with anything that you need if you're anywhere close to us, but we have a lot of people travel also, so take that into consideration. It's Automatic Garage signing out. We'll holler at y'all later.